Hello everyone. Today I will be doing a book haul as well as a reading update. We'll first start off with the reading update as I haven't been very um, fast in my reading as I had predicted, but it's okay. And the books that I'm reading are quite difficult at the moment, so I'm kind of slowly making my way through them. The fiction book that I'm still reading is William Burroughs' Naked Lunch. Uh, I've gotten a little bit further in it than the last time I talked about it. Um, this book is kind of nothing like I have ever read before. It it is like, well, actually that's not true because it's kind of similar to Burroughs' book Junkie, but I would say that the kind of excerpts that are present in Junkie are as well present here, but it's as if those excerpts are themselves in some like drug fueled hallucinatory state, where Naked Lunch is these kind of series of vignettes, which are kind of extremely perverse, erotic, and kind of brutal and gory, and they just um, seemingly keep going on and on and on and on. Uh, so I'm actually quite finding it quite difficult, um, but I am still very much enjoying it. I think it's like a kind of book that will help me in the future with other difficult books and other books with a kind of experimental style, especially ones which like utilize like vignettes and kind of a series of like isolated pictures with a similar theme. Like I'm thinking I want to read like Italia Calvino's Invisible Cities, and so I think this could help me um, be prepared for that type of book. But yeah, it's kind of sometimes even a little too erotic for me. The next book is the one I'm working through with a book club, which is Capital Volume 1. Uh, this again is a very difficult book, but in an extremely different way, obviously. Um, the type of, um, you know, Marxist conversation and theory that I engage with usually is kind of taking Marx um, and thinking about him in a sort of cultural or social lens. Whereas this is a kind of, especially in the bit that we are in, which is in the first um, three chapters, is kind of economics basically, and it's Marx breaking down um, money, means of payment, um, and stuff of that nature. But nonetheless, um, of course, I've found like certain things that have been extremely relevant to me and my perspective and stuff. And at the end of the day, I really like kind of Marx's almost like sociological viewpoint on things, where he wants to kind of reveal the veil on certain things he sees. Um, and yeah, I'm finding it actually more, especially this section, which is very economics. I'm finding it more enjoyable than I thought, but still quite challenging. Yeah. The next book I've started reading, which I'm actually quite enjoying, is Freud's um, Civilization and Its Discontents. Uh, I'm only at the beginning of this. I'm like 40 pages in or so, but it's quite a short book, so hopefully I'll be able to get through this one quite quickly. I'm finding this book, especially in conversation with my previous Nietzsche reading and with Marx, um, very, very like almost cathartic in a way that it kind of is again talking about some of the things that I have been studying in this summer. And I guess it's because, these three German thinkers are kind of talking in a kind of similar context. So they kind of come across various things and they talk about religion in quite similar ways and how and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm mostly just finding this Freud book um, kind of revelatory in a way that I didn't expect. Um, and I'm really liking this kind of, not kind of, this psychoanalytic lens that is, pervasive, where, which I haven't really engaged with that thoroughly. And I kind of wanted to read Freud just because I wanted to read other people like Lacan, and even put like Judith Butler in more context. Um, but I didn't think that Freud himself would be this so enjoyable to me. I just thought I was kind of reading him in preparation for other things that I was more interested in, but no, I'm finding it very, very good, and I like. Um, I guess maybe it's like a break from my usual readings, which are so kind of social and macro based. Yeah. Um, but I think I can kind of see why psychoanalytics is so good at um, are such a prevalent thing in like literary studies, because I mean this is where it started, right? This is Freud using psychoanalytics to kind of think about culture and civilization and the social around him. Yeah. So yeah, but I haven't fully got through it. I'll expand my thoughts, I think, later on. Okay, the next couple books are just kind of books I've accumulated. I haven't bought any of these. I've been gifted all of them over the last couple weeks. Some of them were kind of late birthday presents. Some of them were just like nice gifts. The first one I've got, the first three, we'll go with that. The first three I've got were from my lovely partner. I think she got them all at some book market, and she just kind of picked them up for me, which I'm very grateful for. It's lovely. And the first one uh, is something which is quite good because I don't think I would. Um, I've actually been kind of dipping in and out of this, but it's poetry of the 30s. Now, poetry is something that I'm quite interested in, I guess, in a kind for its kind of metaphorical value in the way that it's kind of it works to kind of agitate traditional canons and such, and it's kind of it's kind of inherent playfulness. But with that being said, I'm terrible at reading poetry, and um, I can never really read a full poetry book, and I don't really usually understand the poetry um, just on the first read. But nonetheless, I still like to read poetry from time to time. So this is just a really wonderful gift. It's just a series of poems from different poets from the 30s. Yeah, lots of whom I hadn't heard of. But yeah, lots of these poems kind of talk about, the kind of First World War and stuff like that, class struggle, the Spanish Civil War, and such like that. So a very, obviously a kind of interesting time where it's these poets are all, as it says on the back, children of the First World War, but they haven't seen the Second World War. So kind of an interesting time period. The next one is the other one she got me, which is I hadn't heard of this author, but it is The Bull from the Sea by Mary Renault. I'm pretty sure it is, yeah, it's a kind of Theseus and the Minotaur kind of intertextual story, I guess. The back says, the Minotaur is dead. Theseus the bull leaper returns to Attica from Crete. The boy king must now be high king. He has sacked the labyrinth, brought down the Minoan dynasty, and now he must learn to rule like a god. Um, I think someone might have to inform me if that is like a actual story um from that period, or it's like Renault's original kind of um spin on Theseus's story. I'm not sure. I I'm really excited to read this actually, just because it seems like It's just like a kind of seems like quite a nice little book, little read. I mean, the period is obviously rich and wonderful, and I love kind of people playing with different mythologies. I love people playing with different canons and stuff like that. If she is doing that, or maybe she's just retelling it, I'm actually not sure. Um, yeah, yeah. It kind of brings me back. I remember that book that was very famous, and still is very famous. The Song of Achilles, which I listened to an audiobook, which got very very popular, and I liked how, that retelling emphasized certain things that would be emphasized, I feel like, from contemporary perspectives, but um, back, you know, when the Iliad was kind of collected or written or who knows what it was, those kind of themes wouldn't have been so kind of focused on. Um, so I always like contemporary retellings of these of myths, or even just kind of um, exploring those characters from a different lens is always very interesting. And the next book she got me, the last one, is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So I'd obviously heard of Marquez just because of his book. This is gonna test me. I think it's is it 1,000 Years of Solitude, or I think it's 1,000 Years of Solitude, not 100 years. But yeah, I heard about him um, a lot. Obviously, I kind of want to read more translated text. I've been reading lots of American writers, and I do want to kind of expand my wings a little bit, but I still am very interested in this whole American kind of postmodern thing. But anyway, uh, this is a book I basically know nothing about. I know that Marquez is like, one of the purveyors of magical realism, um, which I've actually kind of avoided most of the time. Where, like, if I want to read a Murakami book, I kind of look up what Murakami book isn't magical realism, and then I read that one and I have a great time. But anyway, I think that's the same thing that happened to me when it came to like Calvino and Burroughs and stuff, where I had these kind of preconceptions about them and about the way they write, and then I read them, and although those preconceptions were kind of right, I had a very different time reading them than I thought. So, you know, why not just give it a shot? And it seems like a lovely love story, and I love love stories, and yeah, I love romance. So yeah, this seems like it could be great. I'm sure it's great, obviously. Just depends on what I think of it. The next book I got is my friend got me it for a late birthday present, which was so sweet of him. Um, I love getting books from people as gifts because it seems like um, a recommendation is always nice, and then um, kind of a book can really change you. So uh, if someone is giving you a book, it's as if they are thinking, this could really impact you. It is the very famous East of Eden by John Steinbeck, another American kind of myth book. So, I think this one has been, I mean, just blowing up recently. It's become a kind of, you know, it's become part of the kind of everyday conversation, right? Have you read East of Eden? What did you think of it? Oh, you haven't read it. You have to read it. You have to read it. But yeah, from everyone who has read it has told me it's kind of indescribable. So um, I'm very excited to read this. I think it will have you know I assume it's going to have the same. I feel like it will be almost similar to Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison in the way that it's kind of American book with like a deep kind of biblical mythology that kind of um, is immersed in it, and yeah, I think it will be great. I mean, it's a big book though. I didn't realize it was this big, but yeah, I'll definitely read it, and I basically think I'll really like it. Okay, the last book we've got is one that my mom gave me. This is her old copy. Very lucky. It is very famous book, Confessions of a Mask by Yukio Mishima. If I read this, this will actually be my first Mishima. He's, a kind of, a kind of such a kind of controversial figure, and a controversial figure that, nonetheless, everyone who's read his books are kind of like blown away by how beautiful they are. But I guess, I basically want to have my own opinion of him. What is funny about this copy, and what I was talking to about with my mom, is that on this copy there's no kind of I feel like there's no commentary on what I feel like made Mishima who he was. I've kind of if you I've read and I've looked at some stuff about him. It has no kind of commentary about, the fascism or the homosexuality and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of don't really want to talk about this or Mishima that much until I kind of read a couple more of his novels. There's a movie I really want to see called, I think it's like Mishima Life or something like that, which is meant to be really good. Um, I don't want to kind of, I want to kind of, I want to preface that I, think he was a kind of horrible person, but I want to kind of read him and research him a bit more before I have a full opinion, because I think, it will be a very interesting thing to think about. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, those were that was a reading update and a reading haul. Hope you very much enjoyed.